Hello.
This is an automated message from Statistical Zero. He will be with you shortly. Hey!
Hey, all the way from the 23rd century.
I got people to handle that kind of thing for me.
Yeah.
I own half a planet, you know.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, lots of good rocks on that planet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Delicious. I wonder if that's the only kind of music they have there.
Yeah, it's got to be. Well, punk rock.
Yeah.
Definitely. Excuse me a second.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody. We have Mr. Storm himself, Team Dark in the house. Evening, Lucifer. Oh, look, we've got Statto. Hello, Statto.
Well, that birdie.
And we have Bristolian Dave. Hey, Dave. Right. Yeah, tonight's show is going to be all about the cursed earth revisited. Well, revisited for me, but this is the first time you've read The Cursed Earth. Is it the first time you've read a Judge Dredd story?
It is.
Wow.
Yes. The two movies are the only exposure I'd had to the character, period. So, two very polar opposites.
Right. So you'll begin to understand some of the things you hear British people say now when they talk about those movies.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of had an inkling beforehand, just from that one basic rule of don't take his helmet off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of like.
But I will say that this reinforced more so for me that the Stallone movie, like the look of that movie, matched up far better than the more realistic look from the Urban movie.
Oh yeah, the Stallone movie. It's Danny Cannon is a good kind of like visual stylist, and he gets the look just right, and it's a big budget, and it is Mega City 1, and it's The Cursed Earth. It just looks the part. It's not good. Just doesn't have Judge Dredd in it. It has Sylvester Stallone in it.
Right. I like to think though. Here's where I'm gonna change everything for everybody. I'm gonna say that particular Judge Dredd was another Judge Dredd clone that thought he was Judge Dredd. Oh my goodness! And you'll think about that.
Oh yeah. So
and the other Judge Dredd somewhere else, doing his thing in that mega city. But this particular one, he's there in a because it's like hundreds of miles big, right? The mega city.
Yep. So he's like the clone that didn't quite work.
He's in another sector, way far removed from the actual Judge Dredd. That's like being really nasty the whole time. This one's kind of over making jokes and a little more likable. But he takes his helmet off because So that's what I'm going with.
Well, meanwhile, the real Judge Dredd, he's having some time off, and he's sitting at the other sector, and he's kind of watching it on the view screen.
Yep, he's just sitting there in the shadows.
Yep, I'm thinking, well, I'll need to pop in if they can't sort this out themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe the original Judge Dredd, that first 5 minutes of the movie, that was the actual Judge Dredd.
It might well be. Yeah, it kind of felt like it, and then suddenly just went, okay, it's a Stallone movie.
It was a really great intro to that movie when he got out and he told everyone they're under arrest, and then.
Yeah, I wonder if he watched it back afterwards, maybe a few years afterwards, and thought himself, "Yeah, they were right. I should have kept the helmet on."
Well, probably. I wouldn't. I mean, nowadays he's really, really focused on keeping things as authentic or original as they used to be. Like the Rambo movies, he goes in saying like, "This is how it is in that region," kind of thing. Yep, so I kind of feel like if he had another shot, he never would take that helmet off. He'd insist it stayed on the entire time, or there was an obstruction to the face or something like that. I honestly think.
Totally, yeah.
I think that. I wish he would get another crack at it, because now he's got a really craggly face. That would look really good under the helmet.
It would, yeah. Dave's in the same boat as you. He's not read any Judge Dredd, so he'll be getting...
Hey, well, it's good that
once the lockup's over, we'll be kicking him out of Britain. So we'll make some space for him over there.
Sitting here in the cursed earth with me.
And hi, Pete. We are indeed.
Hi, everybody.
I'm keeping safe with a glass of red tonight. Statto's got something he stole from an isocube.
Yep. Well, no. I what would you say? I commandeered it. Confiscated it.
Confiscated it. Exactly. Right, so yeah, if anybody's watching out there, hit the like button. If you're on the old Facebooks, if I remember to set it up properly, hit the old likes and the kind of like hearts and all that kind of stuff. And the one person that's out there on Twitch, hello. Right, what we're going to do is, before we get started, I was going to check in on my campaigns in case there's any newbies out there watching, because I knew there's a few folk that I've been chatting with and getting in touch with that watch but don't actually comment. So I'm going to have a wee look at Elsa Dark and how it's doing. Now, on Tuesday night, I actually drew 3 sketch cards for the campaign, which, you know,
Beautiful.
was amazing. I got that done. So I'm going to do that, I think, every Tuesday. I think it's quite easy. You can chill out. And
They're addicting, aren't they?
They are. So, because everybody that backed it initially from the mailing list gets a sketch card.
Wow.
So you're probably going to get the Tatty Bogle Man or Elsa or one of the werewolves from it. Indeedly. I quite like drawing Elsa with the black blood scars, so I could probably do quite a few of those. You'll need to wait till the comic's done and back the campaign to find out why she seems so smiley, considering she's got those scars. I haven't done this guy yet. I'll do this guy next week on the show. So on Tuesday night, I'm going to be doing the monocled werewolf as a sketch card or 2. But yeah, this is Elsa Dark. If you haven't had a look at it, have a look at it. This is my campaign. It's awfully good. If I say so myself, it's got werewolves, it's got vampots, it's got Elsa Dark, everything in between. It's got like Escher-inspired dreamscapes. It's got Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi. It's got this chap. Yeah, that's actually a spoiler for the end of the second issue, but you know, you need to read it to realise that. So please give it a wee looky. And if you do go for the fear box, you get a commission from me as well. You get everything in the campaign, and anything that's added gets thrown into that fear box as well. And you get a commission piece of artwork for me as well. So that's kind of one you have a wee look at. And if it's takes your fancy, give it a wee look. What am I doing? Because where we're heading for right now, I thought it was up at the top, but it's not. It's a bit down here. Everybody gets that as a print.
Woo! Sorry about that.
Everybody gets this little trading card, and we're so close now to everybody getting Statistical Zero's Elsa Dark retro print, which looks gorgeous. We are so close to that. I mean, we're over 5k in dollars, but once we get over that in pounds, everybody that backs the campaign gets a lovely physical copy of this. And if you back it in digital, you get lovely digital copies of all the stretch goals, so you can print them out to your heart's content and put them up all over the place in your local town if you want to, if you're that way inclined. But I do have another campaign out there I want to bring to your attention. It's Tales of Mystery and Imagination. It will start immediately after I've fulfilled Elsa Dark. So in July, this will be starting up. It will be going live. And I'm going to, because why not, I'm going to play the trailer, I hope. And then we'll go on to talk about Judge Dredd. So everybody cross your fingers and hope that Wullie clicks the right bit of StreamYards and plays the trailer. I would also advise you turn the sound down or put your fingers in your ears. Oh, I think I'm bleeding out of one ear. So loud. Should probably sort that out. But yeah, there you go. That's me pointing out everything that I'm working on. And Statto's got a lovely print in there as well. We're nearly there, guys. So let's get started on this. I have a quick check in the chat. Yeah, hello. Is Not My Monkey. Hi there. Not My Monkey. saying hello to everybody in the chat. There we go. I can't keep up with the chat. Right, Judge Dredd. This is the second of our Comic Book Gold Season 2.
What was the first?
It was EC Comics. We'll probably have to return to that. I've read a lot more since then. And I probably made a lot of mistakes in what I was talking about in the first one. I've got... since then, I've bought 12 EC hardcovers. Yeah, no.
My goodness. I bought one.
And today I bought another 2. And one's winging its way over for California even as we speak, I think.
Oh, wow, that's funny because the second Judge Dredd one I got came from UK. Cross.
Right.
Important.
Yeah. Oh, right. So you've got the... So what's the IDW American one like compared to the...
Oh, no. I got... which one? So the one...
Are they both the same? Are they both the same kind of covers?
I think is... No. The second one I think is... So I've got this one here for the Curse of Earth. It's got Judge Dredd's face on it because, they all had Judge Dredd's face on them.
Right, that's the American issues. Yep.
That's the American one. Okay, no. The sequel or the other one that I got, it's got like he's on the bike.
And it's like a one color down the side, like blue or something.
It's green, yeah.
Green, yeah, that's a British ones. So
okay, cool.
I think they're all exactly the same inside, but they've got different covers.
Oh, I like having one of each, I think.
Cool.
Because what's funny is different, like the advertisements and stuff like that. The faces seem to get mixed up. So I've seen like Volume 1 has the face from the cover that I've got here on Volume 2.
Oh, and right. So they're all
weird.
over the place.
What's that?
They're all over the place with their marketing.
Yeah, the only one that I think has a consistent cover is number 3 because that's Judge Death.
Right. Of course.
It's tough to get him mixed up.
It kind of is. Say hi to Peeps, who's joined us.
Hello,
People Circus. Right, okay, so I've got... Right, so again, this is your first... Now, I thought it'd be a good idea to have you start with that collection with the Cursed Earth. The first collection, you could always go back to, and it's got lots of stories, and it's got the first big kind of like robot story, which is the first kind of like continuing story. But the Cursed Earth, I think, is a good one to start with because it gives you a more human version of Dredd.
I was going to say, like for a fascist, he's doing everything he can to help people.
Yeah, so it shows you the kind of human version of Dredd, but it also completely embeds him into the kind of fascist state that he's part of and supports. So it makes him a far more interesting character. If you start here, I think it kind of gives you this character that's kind of more fully formed. You can go back and read the early stories. So you've read the Cursed Earth. Did you start on the Curse Caligula the day the Lord died?
I read, I think, the first few pages, like the first story, and then I kind of flipped through it a little bit. It reminded me a bit of Judge Griffin's arc in the movie, in the Stallone movie.
Yeah, well, that's good. That'll be our second Dredd special.
Because I was like, that does remind me of Jurgen Prochnow.
Yep, that'll be a good one to do for our second Dredd special, I think, because it's all over the place, but it's
right.
Very interesting kind of like a bunch of stories, I think.
And then I heard Rico's name, so I was like, oh, are they getting into that in this too? And
yeah.
But yeah, it looks like that first movie was very much, there's the Cursor stuff, there's the Caligula kind of things put in there, and the Rico stuff.
Yeah, I think they took a lot of the stuff from...
Big grab bag of stuff from the first early stuff.
Three big arcs they took stuff from, and that was like the Cursed Earth, Judge Caligula, and the Child Judge storylines. Rather than just concentrating on one story, they just cherry-picked from 3 big epics. You know, straight away, that's kind of a recipe for disaster. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
3 epics. No.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on Cursed Earth, for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I had a wee read through some of them. I've got actually here they are. There's the two covers that are on this thumbnail that I made. That's the issues that I've got. I read them originally when they came out as weeklies.
That's a beautiful Bolin cover right there.
Yeah, I know. That's the copies I've got. They're like splitting over two kind of like black and white collections, and the same sizes. So I think they're slightly larger than the collections you've got.
Color in black and white originally.
Well, they were. We'll go into this as we're talking about them. They were like the way that they worked was the front cover, the back cover, and the 2 center pages were always in color.
Okay.
So whichever was considered to be like the top story at that time, or they wanted to push, it took the 2 center pages, so it would have 2 pages of colour.
Okay.
But that could change. But whenever you see a double page spread, when you're reading through any of these early kind of collections of Judge Dredd, that was originally coloured.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when they were first collected, they were collected in black and white, and it's nice having them collected in black and white because you just see the line art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking like those old the Showcase Presents and the Essential lines that Marvel and DC put out remind me a lot of those.
Yeah, I love those. So I read this originally in its original form from June 78 to October 78.
Wow.
Okay. So I would have been, what, 12? Yep, so I would just be turned 12.
That's a good age for something like this.
It is indeed. And you'll notice that the price went up by 1 whole British penny during the run, from 9 to 10 Earth money. But yeah, so the Cursed Earth. Initial thoughts. Just give me your initial thoughts when you read the first few pages of this collection.
First few pages, I was glad to see how well it aged, because sometimes with those older comics, especially as you know with superhero comics,
yeah,
the dialogue can be very it's like, I will use my optic blast to shoot him, because they would go under that kind of, every comic is somebody's first comic, so they got to explain absolutely everything in that comic, what each character is. Now it's great on a monthly, but when you're reading it in the collection, it's really tedious.
Yeah.
And DC's like horror books and stuff like that didn't have so much of that problem. The genre books, they tended to be better written.
Yeah. And
so I was glad to see that this kind of stuck along with that. And I was really glad to see that it wasn't too difficult to follow, because, usually with some of these older books, they have a lot of references to what's going on at the time for them. And, a lot of stuff will fly by here. It's like watching like Monty Python or Saturday Night Live or even the Muppet Show from back in the 70s. Like, 1 to 2 out of 5 references is going to go over anybody's head that wasn't alive during the actual original kind of thing. And I was glad to see there wasn't a whole lot of that.
No, and where there is, it tends to be so broad that it works on 2 levels. If you don't get the kind of cultural reference from the time, you get the broader reference.
Yep.
That's the way they work. And they also did this thing, because it was weekly comics. They kind of like they wrote to the intelligence of the kids that were reading them and imagined that you actually would remember what happened last week. So that there's never that much of a recap. It starts with maybe a recap of the last panel. Sometimes there's a week and part of a splash page or something, which was always quite cool anyway, because it's another way of telling the story. But yeah, they just kind of like, they treated kids as if they weren't stupid, which is highly unusual these days to see that.
Well, typically the best stuff from like the 70s and 80s did that. I remember even like the Care Bears, the second Care Bears movie dealt with a possession. Like there was a ghost called Darkheart, and he just straight possessed this kid, and the kid was like trying to get people and make them miserable and stuff. And I'm just like, even as a kid watching this, and I used to watch a lot of horror movies, so it's just like, wow, this isn't like most cartoons.
No, I hear you. Not that I'm particularly au fait with the Care Bears. Maybe keep that for a future episode. I'll maybe look into that. I'll say hello there to Aldous on the farm. Thanks for joining us and getting to join us live for a change. Thank you very much.
I didn't watch the show as a rule. It was just, I could think it was on like the Disney Channel at 2 a.m. or something, and I was just watching and just thinking, like, catching the second half of it. I don't even remember if I watched the whole thing, but it was just like, yeah, this kid's possessed. His eyes were like really red, and his name was, Darkheart was the name of the thing that was getting him and stuff. And then they shot him with rainbows and sucked it out of the kid, like did an exorcism. And like all shot him at the same time and drove the thing out. And I was just watching this, and keep in mind, I was at that time I was watching stuff like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And so just kind of comparing this kids show to some of that stuff, like Night of the Demons, Exorcist, stuff like that, it wasn't different.
Oh, the good old days, eh?
It was very, very similar. And I was shocked that it was the Care Bears doing this. But they didn't write down to kids, even then.
No, even then. They had like when television, they had standards and practices trying to get them to write down to kids, but you know,
They found ways around it, just
find
like
ways around it.
in the 40s and stuff, when they find ways around the codes.
Yeah. But okay, right. Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd.
So yeah, I am the law.
Oh.
Two artists working on this. First one, the one who gets the bulk of the work to do is Mike McMahon, and this is like early Mike McMahon. Very sketchy, but very vibrant and alive.
Reminded me a bit of kind of the Kubert or Neil Adams kind of school of work. Very fast, very sketchy, like lots of lines.
Totally, yeah. Have you seen his work that he did on Slain?
Mm-mm.
Right, his style changes over the years. You can even see it from this collection, in a space of like a few months. He gets more controlled, but more abstract.
Okay.
Judge Dredd's feet get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I noticed as he draws them. It was almost like what happened to Frank Miller.
Yeah, eventually his feet. But the thing with Mike McMahon stuff is it kind of looks cool. It looks quite good when he does it. So yeah, his style changes, which is quite interesting. And Brian Boland, his style as well. You see it starting to form throughout these issues too, as it becomes more Boland-like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's in this one or the next one. He gets inked by Dave Gibbons in one of them. It might be in the next run. But that's quite interesting. So you've got this Cursed Earth, which is very much a British take on kind of like redneck American types in many ways, isn't it?
Right.
Like that, yeah. So how did that read for you?
It didn't read too much differently than I've seen this so dang many times in movies. Especially like the kind of cult sort of characters, where they have some sort of a belief system, whether or not it's compared to Christianity or Judaism or any other one. They've got their own little belief system and they're willing to kill people for it. So that didn't, change too much for me. That didn't affect me too much. Just reminded me of any number of similar things.
Yeah, I mean the things, movies like Deliverance and that. I remember them being on TV at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They were now getting ready to be shown on TV at that time. In the mid to late 70s, and so that kind of stuff. The Hills of Eyes coming out in the cinema and whatever. So yeah, it was definitely a thing. So it was. Yeah, I say hello there to COVID Kev, who's joined us. Hey, COVID. Do we call him COVID or Kev? Should probably call him Kev. That sounds better.
What a difference when you turn the page, it goes from McMahon to Boland.
Yeah, this is the thing though. It's like you would get 1 week, you'd get this, the next week you get that,
right?
And it was back to this again. And you'd have your favorite artists, but there were no bad artists.
No. It's just such a stark contrast. I mean, between like it's almost slow and methodical versus a bit quicker paced.
Yeah,
art.
Yeah.
And Boland I hear slow.
Yeah, but I always liked. My favorite Dredd artist was always Carlos Esquira, who didn't do any of the issues in this run. But the way that they worked, because you had like John Wagner and Pat Mills writing the majority of this stuff.
Yep.
And John Wagner organized it so that he could write stories that were longer and have one artist work on them. So he eventually managed to sort it out. So when they eventually got to write the Apocalypse War, that was a huge arc, and Carlos Esquira drew the whole thing.
Wow.
And that was great. Yeah, it was to actually see. So they started to kind of work these things out beforehand, and they would have lots of single stories leading up to then an epic story, and they would manage to get the one artist working on the epic story. Sure. But I always loved this issue as a kid. The idea that the muties would put their own face up in Mount Rushmore, and it dates it because it's what's his name, the peanut president that's up there, Jimmy Carter. But
so he probably would have been around the time they did this book, I'm guessing. Yeah,
so that's the kind of like the relevant for the time part, but at the same time it still works as quite a good joke. Maybe the teeth coming out doesn't have quite the same meaning to anybody who doesn't know who Jimmy Carter was, but
right.
And that's the thing about it, is how do you feel about, because the tone changes sometimes from panel to panel in Dredd.
It was a little inconsistent, but this whole thing reminded me a lot. I'm used to it because this whole thing reminded me a lot of just Silver Age stories. Felt like Wagner was because it went all over the place, in terms of just like what can we throw in this week, and that very much felt like an old Superman strip where it was like the red kryptonite. Oh, today he's got an ant head. Oh, tomorrow he's eating rocks, because he needs to, or something like that. It's the Cursed Earth was just this blank slate to like dinosaurs this week. Yeah, let's have some dinosaurs.
Yeah.
What about like mutants and killer robots? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. We'll get to the dinosaurs in a minute. Whoops, it's moving too fast. I'm going to say hi, Chubb.
Hey, Chubb.
But Peep said it for me.
So I mean, and with the really short little 5-6 page runs that each story had, like that felt a lot like a Silver Age kind of thing too.
Yeah. So we had, this is 1978, so it's the tail end of punk, and we've got a character in here who's essentially as Johnny Rotten. Is Spikes, Rotten Harvey. Yeah. And what's great about this is that he never really...
That's a beautiful page too.
He never really changes as a good guy or anything like that. He has consistently the same voice throughout this storyline.
Opportunist.
Exactly, from beginning to end. I picked these pages because the page to the right here, where we see him fighting Dredd, is where he's kind of introduced, and I think that's just a terrific page. And likewise, the Bolin page here, where he's just signed a contract to own half of a planet.
Now he's not a nobody anymore. He's got half a planet.
He's got half a planet. No, it's not going to work out. That spoilers. There's going to be spoilers here, guys. It's not going to work out well for poor old Spikes, Rotten Harvey. But yeah, even though this is very much a cultural kind of like reference at the time, he's a well written, well created kind of character.
Oh yeah, I bought him as just like a punk.
Yeah. The thing was, they would introduce these characters, they'd kind of like develop them just enough, and then they'd get rid of them, they'd kill them, and you would feel kind of sorry that they were gone because they never outlived their welcome.
It's like a Walking Dead situation.
Yeah, they never outlived their welcome.
But that keeps them special and memorable. It's like, which story do you want to read? I want to read the one with this guy, and that marks it forever, kind of thing.
It does.
Which is why I think Rob Schneider should have gotten shot or blown up or somewhere in the middle of the Judge Dredd movie, because after reading some of this, it's like, well, he would have fit in right there just fine as long as he got shot somewhere.
Yeah, well, you see, that's the thing. And the next Dredd episode we do, we'll do Judge Caligula and the day the law died. You'll be able to read Fergie from the comic, and then we can compare them.
Oh, perfect.
Right, that's going to be something, I can tell you that. But here we see Spike's final pages as he meets his end. Yeah. But yeah, there's a real kind of Joe Kubert quality about Mike McGann's art at this particular time. It's just so vibrant, so alive.
Lots of scratchy kind of inking, almost, it looks like.
Yeah. It works really well in the kind of cheap newsprint as well that the comics are printed in.
Cartoonier than Kubert went, though, but...
Yeah, definitely. Another thing is the way you can see towards the left, two panels down, you can see Tweak, the alien character. Both Boland and McMahon draw him, but they both draw him differently. And McMahon kind of anthropomorphizes him a bit more, has a bit more of a kind of character to him when he draws him. Sure,
that was a good arc. Tweak was good arc. I like him.
Yeah, we'll talk about him in a wee second. Because I want to go into this. You had like the robot vampire storyline that they did, where they actually set up the president, the last president of the United States, and the origin of the judges, all told in 3 pages.
Right,
and that's all told in 3 pages. We now know the story of the judges, at least as told by Dredd, and that's it. We don't need to know anymore.
Well, you didn't really in the first place. I mean, they do a good job of setting up the whole, like, there's a lot of people here, and the cops can't be everywhere at once, so they're just deputized to do what they got to do. Like, it's very simple, and simple's good because that means more stories can come out of it the less you constrict yourself to rules. Yeah, this one was a weird one, like just having the president totally unprotected out in the middle of nuclear land.
Yeah, but being fed blood by these vampire robots.
Right.
That end up as farmers at the very end. It's like in typical 2000 AD fashion.
Very much like he's happier non-violent.
Yep. So he's, instead of being a suspended animation, sort of like as his found guilty and put suspended animation as the president of the United States, he's now got to work the farmlands of the cursed earth.
Right.
Great story done. Let's go on to the next part, and that's what it was. That's pretty much what it was like every few
Wrap
weeks
it up
in
quick. You got
2000 AD.
6 pages.
Pretty much. Yeah, we're going to rocket through this show. Right, so the aforementioned tweak.
Mm-hmm.
And it says it here in this cover, alien roots.
Mm-hmm.
Again, throw your mind back to the mid and late 70s, and roots was a big thing. Both the book and the miniseries on TV. So of course they always played up on that kind of thing on 2000 AD. They would take something that was in the zeitgeist and they would do their spin on it.
Having weekly comics made that easier, I imagine.
Yeah, totally. They would create entire series out of stuff like that. So there's Rollerball. 2000 AD have managed to get about half a dozen different comic strips just out of the fact that there was a rollerball in a Death Race 2000. Right. So it's like, hey, that's a genre. Right. Future sports. So they're off they go and they keep running with it. But yeah, this was like an alien character who eats rocks. And so what did you think of his arc? Because you said that was a fairly good arc. What your thoughts on that arc?
It was nice to this is one of those ones that kind of confused me a little bit. And I mean, like how Judge Dredd's like a very super fascist type guy, letter of the law completely. And I'm like wondering, like, hey, would he bust this guy for not having like the appropriate papers? Later on, I feel like they would have written him for like, yeah, you're here, but where are your slave papers? Slave papers? What? Going to the jail,
Yeah.
Thing like that. But he was more human, in this story arc, so it worked a little bit better. But yeah, it was a nice, like, I guess, a soft point in a hard story. Yeah. I mean, even though he got dragged through the mud pretty much through the entire thing, like,
pretty much, yeah.
For a moment, you could kind of feel bad versus just like, basically Mad Max Fury Road, the comic book, for weeks and weeks and months.
The interesting thing here is, of course, Mad Max Fury Road was Brendan McCarthy, ex-Judge Dredd and 2000 AD artist. Was the guy who wrote and storyboarded it. So
makes sense.
It all comes together now, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was a Cursed Earth story.
Exactly. I always liked this character. I like this story. I like the fact that they can do it kind of like EC Comics. In a few pages, they can tell you all you need to know about a character in the storyline.
That's like a lost art to be able to, get a whole issue done in 5 pages.
It sort of is. It's kind of like definitely a lost art.
It's also very much an anthology discipline, and those are all but dead now. So
yeah. Hello there, Ginge. Thanks for joining us. And I remember being moved when I read it as a kid, thinking, "Oh, this is so sad." Poor tweak. But I put these pages again. It shows the human side of Dredd. It's like you connect Dredd and this alien have a real connection, and he treats everybody else like around him, monstrously if they don't show the respect to this creature.
Of course, there was a situation where he killed somebody right in front of Dredd, and had Dredd truly been as obsessed as he was later on, he would have went ahead and charged him as soon as they got back to Mega City 1.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving my life, but you murdered a couple people, and the law's the law.
If this had happened in the first volume of Dredd, he probably would have. Mm-hmm. But he does kind of, maybe even later on in Dredd, he might have, depending, but I think with the length of this story as well and what everything they went through, no.
I suppose he gave him a pardon.
Kind of, yeah. But you can see the difference in the approach here, because it's like, he kind of anthropomorphizes him, that's easy for me to say, and kind of like plays up on the kind of like the cartoonish aspects, which I quite like that. Mm-hmm. especially as a kid. I did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you had a look at a complete issue of 2000 AD from back in the day, because they've all...
no, I haven't.
No.
I was kind of wondering how many properties actually came out of it that weren't Judge Dredd that actually resonated a little bit versus just kind of got lost to obscurity.
Well, I mean, quite a lot. I mean, there was Rogue Trooper, which Dave Gibbons was really big with, and he actually even wrote some of them, and he drew most of the early ones of Rogue Trooper. There was a story called Flesh, which we're going to come to now, because you're talking about dinosaurs kind of just suddenly coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was just tossed in for nothing.
For us kids back in the 70s, this was amazing because it didn't just come out of nowhere, because this was like a sequel to a story that had already been in 2000 AD called Flesh.
Oh, okay.
So as you can see,
they kept on referring back to certain things. I was like, was this another entry in 2000 AD beforehand? Or?
It was. So it's kind of like the Ray Bradbury story, where they're going back in time and there's the dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Well, imagine if they went back and they started farming them like cowboys, and had them like on giant kind of like dinosaur ranches and stuff like that.
Very Jurassic Park. I'm reading this going, holy cow, did they borrow a heck of a lot from 2000 AD for this?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
So they had this one dinosaur called Old One Eye back in Flesh. And Satanus, the dinosaur that you see in here, is like descended from that dinosaur. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read these particular issues. These are not ones I've reread again. But I remember as a kid thinking, they're connecting all the stories together, which is nice to see.
It's always mind blowing for a kid.
That is, you kind of go, wow, this is great. They're all connected, and you can't really go wrong with dinosaurs. But yeah, again, it's dinosaurs, but it feels like it's a post-apocalyptic cowboy thing at the same time.
Oh yeah, Mighty Joe Young, very Mighty Joe Young almost.
Totally. So this was like you'll find that again when you read the Judge Cal stuff, the next storyline that we're going to go and have a look at. There's a character in there called Judge Giant, and he's connected to another story that was in 2000 called Harlem Heroes, which was like rollerball with jetpacks. Meets the Harlem Globetrotters. So they just kept dropping things into Dredd that worked really well, but connected the world together, so it wasn't forced.
So he was like the 2008. He became the 2080 like hub.
It kind of did. It was through his story, at least originally, you started seeing things getting connected to him.
Okay.
And I think also if writers have worked on stories that were no longer in the comic anymore, for instance, they might think, well, this is quite good. We can put dinosaurs into the cursed earth and do it this way. So why just bring a new dinosaur in? Let's connect it to our previous story. And that's what they did.
That makes sense. I mean, that's great to have that kind of building.
I should have grabbed some more pages off the internet for this, because there's loads of cool pages with there's even kind of like it looks like velociraptors fighting. Was it a kind of like a cockfight type page?
Right.
Got as a double page
I
spread.
remember that. Really we made him extra hungry.
Yeah. So there's lots of really cool stuff, and all these issues are drawn by Mike McMahon, because he's got that gnarly kind of like way of drawing them. So it's brilliant for dinosaurs.
Better than this would have taken Bolin forever.
Oh yeah, he would never have finished one of these. He'd be going in there and doing all those individual little kind of like knobbly bits on the dinosaur, the
scales and the definitely.
Now, when you read the collection that you've got, did it have? I know it didn't. Did it have the missing issues in it?
No, what it did. Excuse me. What it did is have a couple of paragraphs that said, like, welcome to Case Files 2. We don't have parts 11 and 12 and 17 and 18, but here's what happened. And then they gave a decent paragraph to outline what happened in each story. So yeah, after a certain amount of time, I had to go back and read them again, just to kind of put them in context with what happened in the story. Yeah. And thankfully the world's pretty consistent. So you can kind of imagine in your head, kind of with McMahon's like art or whatever like that, how it would have looked well enough. So
you don't really miss the missing stories either, to be honest, because it is quite a long kind of rambling kind of
it didn't seem like there was a whole lot in was integral.
As Peeps is saying, the ABC Warriors were in the 90s film too.
That
Yeah,
ABC Warrior looked great.
yeah, that was probably the best thing about that movie was that ABC Warrior looked fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, Flash. Yeah. uh,
I kept on waiting for them to get to the Angel family in this Cursed Earth thing, but they never came up.
No, the Angel family, I believe it's in the Judge Child that they come up. So,
okay,
yeah, they're a bit further down the line before they come into it.
okay, because they seemed significant when I was watching that movie. You know, like over again,
Yeah.
it's like they made a very specific point to bring these specific characters in, so that I knew they had to be something.
Oh yeah, they are because
Yep.
they return quite a lot of times, and it's kind of like a big part of the Batman Dredd crossover as well. So
I just ordered that volume with all the Dredd Batman crossovers.
right, cool.
That'll be an interesting read.
That'll be on our list.
What's that?
That'll be on our list. Once a month we'll do a Dredd special. We'll work our way up to the Dredd Batman special.
Well, hey, this is a UK show, so we know they love the Dredd.
Oh yeah, everybody should love the Dredd. I don't get why he's not bigger in America. I don't get it. Well, I kind of do. He's not in any way like a superhero.
No, well, I don't know. It's funny. I kind of wonder what, like, if you had a normal person that maybe, I don't know about red superheroes, but like where it's like, this isn't what America's like.
Yeah, but you just say, well, it was in 1978.
Yeah, we built back.
It was if you watched a lot of American TV, which is what we did in the UK. We'll so these kind of shows. We'll watch Roots, and we were all watching Valley of the Guanji on Saturday afternoons on TV as well. So there was dinosaurs everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, these are the issues that are no longer. Well, they are. I think they've collected. They have collected them now.
I understand.
They've collected it as a one-off collection. You can get, which has these in it.
Yeah.
But I
Green
don't.
Giant McDonald's didn't take kindly to.
No, not at all. It's not just him. You've also got the Michelin Tire Man in there as well.
Right. I read that in the thing too.
Yeah, there's loads of characters, and it's not just that they are doing a parody of Ronald McDonald. It's actually Ronald McDonald. It's like, so it's so it's satire. Yeah, it works, but satire is not really covered.
Kind of reminds me of Condiment King.
Condiment King. Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah. He's a legitimate villain as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was kind of the joke villain, but I mean, yeah, he's a Batman rogue. So
yeah, they have him in the Lego Batman, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Condiment King, I don't know. Yeah, but Jolly Green Giant, Ronald McDonald, looking brilliantly psychotic, drawn by Mike McMahon. But then again, the real Ronald McDonald looks brilliantly psychotic as well, doesn't he?
A little bit.
No real difference. But that's a fantastic cover, introducing the 180-pound Judge Burger. Yeah.
Very timely story too, given what's been going on in the last year.
Yeah.
Very relevant again. So
everything it always just comes around again.
Dave, if you're still listening, this is all in the second volume of the Judge Dredd Complete Case Files.
Yeah, not these ones. You need to buy a one-off Cursed Earth collection that they brought out.
You probably got them more plentiful over there than we do. I imagine.
Yeah. Although I couldn't find a copy at a decent price, but I think there might be a few now.
Are they all out of print?
No, I think when they just go out of stock, people start to put their prices up. Like Amazon sellers will say, "Oh, it's out of stock, so I'll charge you 10 times the going price for it."
Got it.
Yeah, that happens about minutes within things going out of stock.
Oh.
But I think they're back in stock again at Amazon. I might get myself one.
Right.
I'm getting back into reading all the old Dredd stuff. I haven't read any of the recent stuff.
Yeah, there was a question in the chat. Somebody asking if it kind of succumbed to the wokeness.
I think
last few years.
there's other folk in the chat who'll be reading it more often than I do now, because I haven't read it in years. I believe, from what I've heard, it's occasionally. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is that when you do Judge Dredd has to be taken seriously, 100% seriously. and you can criticize Judge Dredd and you can criticize everything he stands for, but he has to be taken seriously, you know. So I don't know if that's the case with the modern approaches to Dredd.
I suppose it's a lot like a movie Airplane, where you've got like Bridges and what's his face, and they're acting, the guy from Unsolved Mysteries, and they're acting super, super serious, and everything else is going crazy around them, but they're not even breaking like a smile because it's like they don't even notice. Suppose that would fit.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. So I'm trying to think, is there anything in the Cursed Earth that jumped out that I haven't kind of like brought up that we haven't talked about?
Geez, it was, there was a lot of randomness here.
There is a lot of randomness too.
A lot of randomness. I mean, you got like the vampires we talked about, we talked about the mutants we talked about, the crazy rednecks we talked about, the
Satanus.
Satanus we talked about, the more
Sex
dinosaurs.
Pistols.
Yep. Lots more dinosaurs and
crazy country.
No, I mean that's like I said, it all felt like really Silver Agey to me, in terms of just like we've got a ticket to doing whatever we want.
Pretty much. Rats were also big at that time because everybody was reading, or where, I don't know if it was after this or not, James Herbert's The Rats. But in the cinema you had Ben and what was the other one, the first one? Willard, yep. So they were on TV as well around about that time. So Rats were also something that was kind of big in the kind of pop culture kind of zeitgeist. All the stuff converging, and then I'm pretty sure that they would watch the movies, read the books, and do their versions of them, variations of them, and Just Dredd.
Yeah, you could certainly see kind of like at times, like what the flavor of the week was as far as the writer or the. You just saw some post-apocalyptic thing. It's time to put something post-apocalyptic in Dredd.
Yeah, pretty much. Peeps loves Rats. There you go.
I haven't seen the original Willard. I saw the one with Marty McFly's dad.
I haven't seen that. I've seen Willard, but I think it might have been in 1978, and that was the last time I saw it. Yeah, and Ben too. I remember seeing them.
I just saw the remake with Crispin Glover.
Yeah, no, I saw them like late night, don't watch alone on the telly sort of thing. But, the good old days.
Yeah, this is pretty good. So I've got the Caligula. It's just the Caligula one that's next on this one.
Yeah, well, what you've got next is you've got in that collection. I'm closing my eyes and trying to think. It's got The Day the Lord Died.
Yep.
So that's Judge Caligula. It's very kind of bitty and episodic, and there's lots of artists working on it. But it's interesting. What was that?
The Exo-Men?
Exo-Men, don't remember. I think you'll get some more Brian Boland, I think, is the one.
There's quite a bit of it toward the end.
Yeah, because at that time, it's a lot of single issues that Brian Boland did.
Little short stories?
Yep, and you also get some Ron Smith, who didn't do any of this. And Ron Smith, at the time, I think he probably was the most commercial and the most like an American comic book artist in many respects.
Okay.
He did loads and loads of comics in Britain from the 70s, well, before the 70s, but I remember reading them all in the 70s. And he actually introduced a superhero called King Cobra into British comics because I think he was a bit of a fan of the American superhero type comics.
Sure. So
he's never really talked about as an artist, but he's done as many stories as anybody else, and is very good.
These two would be like the main ones people talk about. McMahon and Boland.
Brian Boland is the one most people talk about, I would say.
Yeah.
Certainly because what he went on to do afterwards.
Oh, sure.
I don't think he's the best Dredd artist. I think the best Dredd artist, the one people talk about the most, would be Carlos Esquire.
Is it because he's? Would you say he's kind of stiff in his art?
Boland, I think I think Boland is a bit stiff.
Kind of like Travis Charest.
Yeah, especially at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's at least one story at that time where he was inked by Dave Gibbons. So that's interesting because you get to see Dave Gibbons inking Brian Boland,
Sure.
But you're also seeing Brian Boland just beginning to learn his craft.
I feel like his pencils have to be ultra tight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't know though. Looking at his digital stuff, when he's any put online, his pencils.
Then again, he could do that thing where he just does, you do a quick scribble to decide where the head is, and then you just start inking in like Kirby style.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't imagine it though. I know about him.
Yeah, no,
I can imagine like Mike McMahon doing that, but I can't imagine him doing that. Yeah, but so that's what we're going to be doing next. We're going to be looking at Judge Cal and the day the Lord died.
And then in the next volume, I know Judge Dredd, the first Judge Dredd, like our death kind of stories in there. I don't know
always say you start with Judge Death, and I always say don't start with Judge Death because you want to have an understanding of Judge Dredd before you get there.
Okay.
Because when you stand back and look at, because what Judge Caligula will do.
Too high then?
Well, it kind of, you want to understand the world, you want to understand the judges, and you want to understand what they do that's good, as well as all the stuff they do that's obviously bad because it's an authoritarian state, pretty much, without any elected officials. So, understanding the world, and then you bring Judge Death into it.
Which is the furthest possible authoritarian.
Yeah. But they always did these things where they would raise the stakes so much higher that Dredd and the judges didn't look that bad.
Yeah, I was going to say that when I was reading this, it seemed like he was an a-hole, but then they would just find a much bigger a-hole where you side with him. He doesn't look that bad.
Exactly, that's kind of it. If you give them, like, if you want to turn a villain into a good guy, you introduce a antagonist for that person that's worse than them.
Yep.
And then they're seen to do good simply by their actions, in relation to the other person. So that's kind of what they do or they used to do with Dredd. I've kind of got a reading list for Dredd for you, and there is one story we'll read later on where they kind of like they turn everything on its head. But I think anybody that's coming to Dredd blind, it's good to start with the Cursed Earth because you get the human Dredd.
Yeah, like I said, it confused me from watching well, it's a lot like the human Dredd being more like Stallone, and then the proper one being more like Urban.
Yeah. So when people say that Dredd doesn't have any, he does, but at the end of the day, he will go by the law.
Even if he doesn't agree with it. Yeah.
Pretty much. But when he's in the Cursed Earth, things are a wee bit different. So that's.
Well, he's always saying, "I'm coming back."
Yeah, exactly.
Come back.
Exactly. And he does.
Remember me? Remember the law?
Yeah. I am though. That was Stallone. That was. You can do a good Stallone, can't you?
Hey, I was like, was it the other one with Armand DeSantis? He was like, he's yelling at him.
He was so over the top in that movie. It was like unreal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's just he's a good actor. He takes it very seriously, but I think he was just like, I'm in a comic book movie. Oh well.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to be playing next to Adam West or something. I think.
I have to wonder if he was a fan.
Yeah.
Kind of wonder. Stallone, I guess I'd watched some like Futurist. He hadn't really heard of it. He didn't know much about it, so that's why he said like, I think it'd work better for America. And who knows? Maybe he was right in terms of American audiences.
Yeah.
Like I don't know at that point in time if a super serious, super like violent movie would have worked in 1995.
Yeah, but you just read The Cursed Earth. It didn't need to be that way, did it? I mean, it could have been quite oddly humorous as well. Yeah.
Of course, I have to wonder. I mean, I think that was probably. I feel like that was something added in, like especially for the UK folks, because I mean, you set up this giant, huge city, and then you spend a third of the movie out of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of just like introducing it to American audiences, but for the UK folks, I imagine it's like, yes, Cursed Earth.
Yeah, none of it really made when you sit back and look at it, it makes sense that they're thinking of a 3-act structure. Mega City 1, Cursed Earth, back to Mega City 1.
Yeah,
that's it. And so and then they kind of like that fits in with what they're doing with a 3-act structure, but they don't have. But they don't have character development because you can't have character development for Dredd.
Right. So I mean, I think that's probably why Stallone maybe had it like, no, we're leaning it on my formula
Yeah.
at the time, because his career was really doing well at that point.
Yeah. The best way to do a Dredd, especially back then, would have been to have a rookie, and it's the rookie that's the main character, and they're paired up with Dredd, and then they're put out in the streets with Dredd.
Maybe put it around Hershey.
Yeah, put it around Hershey, and then that would you would get a complete understanding of what Dredd was, but you'd have somebody that you could, with empathy.
They did that with the urban version.
They did, because they had Judge Anderson.
He was like in the background with.
Yeah, that's the best way to introduce Dredd as a character.
But hey, you know what? I'm a little disappointed with that movie because they didn't have double whammy. It makes me laugh every time he says it with like such seriousness. Double whammy.
Yeah.
Shoots two guys at the same time. They had hot shot. I like that.
Yeah. Hot shot.
What'd you say? Hot shot.
Hot shot.
I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fine Dredd moment when he shot him in the mouth.
Yeah. Well, we should cover them. We should do a comparative.
Between
review.
the two movies?
Yeah, we should do that.
I'll have to get a copy of Dredd again. I've got a copy of, that you can tell that movie failed because there is no different cover, no anniversary edition, no special features at all in the DVD or the Blu-ray releases for the Stallone Dredd. It's just kind of sharpened up and kicked out onto the for like $10, $5 a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So they're ashamed of it. And I don't think the Urban Dredd's much further behind as far as like you don't get very much for that either. Neither one did very well.
No, but they are both crying out for a label like Arrow to come along and do something with them.
I definitely think Dredd's more of a streaming guy than a movie. You got to have time to, raise some stakes, build some things up. You just can't get it done in an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, he's a tough nut to crack because even as a streaming, there's no character development there.
Well, I see him a lot like Punisher too, in terms of like, there's a few different versions of Dredd, and each one's got a fan base, just like Punisher. And no matter what you do, there's going to be a large chunk of people going, that's not Frank Castle, that's not Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
right there.
Well,
and then I think the Stallone movie only complicates things with like a heavy amount of nostalgia for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, Peeps only watches the part with Mean Machine in it.
Which one, the ABC Warrior or the Angel Family?
Yeah, no, that's he's for the Angel Family.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the same. That's the scene. That is the scene with the ABC Warrior as well. So that's the right scene he watches. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that again. I don't think I actually own a copy of that.
As a Stallone movie, it's a lot of fun. There's like all the puns and the action jokes and like explosions and stuff. It's a Dredd movie. After reading this, after seeing the I can certainly understand the ire that it brings.
But I think we've talked about this in the past. Demolition Man's a better Stallone Dredd movie than Judge Dredd.
Oh yeah, and that's why I kind of think I feel like this is a sequel. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that they've taken out that stuff and people can do what they want, like everybody's kind of gotten to the point where they need some real governing, and John Spartan steps up, says, "All right," but of course, not with the backstory of the cloning and stuff like that, but just in tone.
I'm lost track of the chat. I have no idea what they're talking about, but yeah, I like. Some days I have that exact same work ethic as not my monkey.
Tuesday nights.
They help you together all these.
I don't know. I think you did pretty good because I wasn't there to sit and derail stuff for like an hour. It's my fault, really.
Well, Tuesday night was great. Yeah. I got three sketch cards drawn.
I gave you an hour head start.
They're all usable, so they're all going to go into somebody's.
That's great.
Yeah, somebody's tier on the Also Dark. But yeah, so that's us then. So that everybody in the chat, this is Statto's first Dredd story, The Cursed Earth, and you liked it?
I did. I liked it. I thought it aged pretty well.
Cool. So we will be back with the day the law died. And then we'll find out exactly what you think of movie Fergie compared to comic book Fergie.
I'm sure the comic book one's going to be very different.
Oh, yes. And fire with those guys. Exactly so it was. Nothing sloth-like about Tuesday night, was it? So, okay, right. I guess we would probably do about an hour tonight, and we did on that. That's quite good. If we can get these kind of like little runs on Dredd done, I think that'd be quite good. Do this maybe once a month, have a little Dredd special for Comic Book Gold.
Very fitting for your channel.
Indeed. There they are. Next week, there will be another Team Dark live stream where I'll be drawing sketch cards because that went well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got something done. So I'm going to do that on Tuesday night. But we'll be back next Thursday night with, if I have the right intro, At the Movies. And Lucifer Storm will be joining us on the night just to confuse me with all my different intros. And we're going to be looking at the movies of Albert Payan. Now, Albert Payan would have made an interesting Judge Dredd movie. I think, yeah, he kind of made ones that were in a similar vein, obviously influenced by the same kind of stuff, and maybe even 2000 AD, at least his earlier movies. So, yeah, we'll be doing that next week, guys, and you'll be helping us in the chat as we try to rank the movies of Albert Payan. Have you been watching any lately, Statto?
No, not yet. Not quite yet. They're also very unique. They do stick out in my mind still. So,
yeah,
the ones that I've seen, the 4 or 5 that I've seen, it's like, oh, I definitely remember these movies.
They are unique, and I found a few on Tubi that I've never seen before, so I've been watching them. Yeah, I will say hello there to Pancho. Thanks for joining us.
You know who I think would make a decent Dredd director after reading some of this? Richard Stanley.
Well, funny you mention that, because Richard Stanley made Hardware, which was an unofficial version of a short story from 2000 AD.
Ha!
There's a big rights thing to do with that. Yeah.
Wow,
So
I feel like he'd get it.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and Peeps is a big fan. I thought when you mentioned him there. Yeah.
I feel like that's, I feel like that'd be a Peephole Circus approved director.
Yeah. That's the kind of person I should be going for. Maybe get Nicolas Cage to play Dredd. Sorry, Peeps' head's probably just exploded when I said that. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I can see it.
Yeah.
Lucifer's going to watch Doorman and Captain America on repeat. So that's it.
Wow.
Monkey's going to try and finish. I've never ever started Bates Motel. Should I start it, guys?
It's different. It's a very much a departure from the other stuff.
Many seasons, is it? That's
5.
usually how. Oh God, 5.
5 seasons.
Many episodes per season. It's not 22 or anything like that, is it?
I don't think so. I think they're like 15 or so.
Wow.
Maybe. It's times where it's like, oh, this is pretty good, and then they go off on some weird random. It's like, oh no, that's not bad, and then
Don't spoil it for Monkey. Have you seen that documentary, Statto?
Which one?
The Dr. Moreau documentary, or documentary. That's easy for me to say. Dr. Moreau documentary.
I haven't, but I remember that horrid movie.
It's very good. The
documentary. About 10 episodes per season.
Yeah, you should watch the documentary. It's good. It's a lot
I remember.
of fun.
Maybe I did, because I remember hearing like.
Too late, Peeps.
What's his face? Val Kilmer was a complete d-bag, and Dr. Moreau, Marlon Brando was just rewriting stuff on the day because he felt like saying something different.
That's mental. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. You know what? I'm getting so many ideas for shows just for this wee chat at the end of this.
My goodness.
Right, but yeah, that's it. Cheers, Statto. Thanks for that. I'm glad you enjoyed Dredd. That'd have been awful if you read your first Dredd and didn't like it.
Oh man, they would have drummed me out of here. It would have been Wullie at the movies next week.
It would have been. Okay, I'll be doing Planet of the Apes all in my own.
You could get people on for that one.
I could get people on for that and we'll be sorted. So yeah, that's what's next, guys, when it comes to Judge Dredd. If you read any of the Walter the Wobot issues yet?
No. No.
Right. Did you even know there was a Walter the Wobot?
No.
Right.
I think I saw him in there when I was flipping through.
Right. That'll be interesting to find out what you think of Walter. Right.
Reminds me
Okay.
of Herbie already. I can say he reminds me of Herbie from the Fantastic Four.
Oh, he does a bit, doesn't he? Yeah. I liked Herbie. Not quite sure. I think it's the apes.
I think I was going to say him co-hosting
the Right. Okay. Thanks, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad some of you did. Thanks very much. I know it nope that he was not very woke. that should have been very woke. Right. We shall see you next week on Tuesday night, and on Thursday night we'll be talking about Albert Pyon's movies. We're going to use something to rank them on here. You guys are going to help us, so that should be fun. So cheers, Statto.
Thank you.
And good night, everybody. We shall see you in the funny bits.
Good night, everybody.